Good afternoon, Pacific alumni, and welcome to our virtual series, Pacific Conversations. My name is Scott Biedermann, and I'm the Vice President for Development and Alumni Relations and a proud double tiger. We're here today in our Pacific Conversations where we really like to talk with faculty, emeriti faculty, and engage them with our alumni in this series. And we come today from Ken Albala's kitchen, where we're going to have a live cooking demonstration. Ken Albala is a professor of history in our College of Pacific and is a world-renowned expert in matters of food and cooking and has taught at Pacific since 1994.
Yeah.
Yes. This year, he's received the university's highest honor in terms of our faculty awards as the Distinguished Faculty of the Year, which recognizes exemplary accomplishments in teaching, research, and service. Dr. Ball has authored and edited 27 and counting books on food and cooking, as well as dozens of articles, reviews, and scholarly works. Many of his books date back all the way food history to the 1200s, and he's also provided commentary on food trends to the New York Times, the History Channel, and has served as a judge in many culinary awards. Welcome, Dr. Ken Albala.
Thank you. Welcome to my house.
It's nice to be here. You have a perfect test kitchen for us today, and tell us a little bit about the dish you're going to make for us.
Well, so I thought, because we're approaching Thanksgiving and everyone always has Thanksgiving leftovers, that I would make something out of turkey. And normally, you eat the turkey again and the stuffing and everything, or you throw it in a sandwich, or you make soup out of the bones. But this is a weird 1950s recipe called turkey tetrazzini, named for an opera singer, Luisa Petrozzini. I don't know how I got that name, but someone, did it in her honor. And it's basically a kind of it's like an Alfredo, an American Alfredo, and or in a sauce with butter and cheese and stuff. And we're gonna hand make the noodles, and then we'll throw some broccoli in for kicks, and then at the end I'll throw some turkey in. And it comes together really nicely. It's a whole meal in one.
Sounds great. Let's get started.
Okie dokie. So I'm gonna just pour some flour, and
Okay.
as you can see, I'm measuring this very carefully.
Are you a measuring
I'm
cup?
not.
Okay.
Just
A little water? Yeah.
Yeah, so just fill that up. And I'm going to add a little salt to this. It really doesn't matter how you measure it. And in fact,
This is enough
depending on
water. Okay.
how humid it is out, how wet dry your flour is going to make a big difference. So if you follow a measure, you probably won't come out exact either. People do this directly on the board, and I find that I get flour everywhere. So this is just much, much easier to stir in. And you just keep looking at it. I suppose I can show you this what I'm doing. Until it begins to come together. And in just a minute, I will get my hands into this.
So, Ken, that is just flour, water, and salt.
That's it. Yep. And I'm using bread flour just because it has a nice protein content.
Okay.
And
So, Ken, as you're doing that, you're using a utensil that you've made. So, you've made that spoon
yes,
right there. And you've also made the bowl that you're stirring this in.
I did that too. Yeah.
So, not only do you cook, you make every utensil to cook.
That's right.
That's right.
It's it's my next book project actually. I'm going to try and figure out how food and wooden spoons and bowls go together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, Ken, this is a perfect time as you're, massaging those noodle dough. Tell us a little bit about your backgrounds. Where are you from, and how did you arrive at Pacific?
Well, I am a New Yorker, born in Brooklyn,
Okay.
and grew up in the suburbs in New Jersey, and the went to school on the East Coast. Totally an East Coaster, and got a job here in 1994. And this is a totally different world in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And moved and came with my wife and raised a family, and that was it. I haven't looked back really.
So tell me a little bit about what you like about working at Pacific, which for our viewers to know, Ken literally finished class, hopped in a car, and came here to cook. So we've had 5 minutes. So we appreciate you doing this. But tell us a little about, you've been at Pacific for nearly 30 years.
Yeah.
What has the experience been like?
I think it's been very good. I mean, my colleagues have always been great. The students, I made friends with them and stayed friends for many years, which is lovely. And it's great, Stockton, I live a mile and a half from campus, so I can walk everywhere, and I do. I own a car, but I never use it. So that's kind of nice, for people who commute a long way or have, an impersonal kind of workspace. I get to know everyone I work with very well. It's
Yeah.
nice.
So tell us, and that's the Pacific community, right? We're
That is
family.
exactly that.
But tell us the viewers what you're doing right now. So you are just, is rolling now the
I'm
noodles.
rolling out the dough.
Okay.
Most
Did you make that roller?
didn't. You know, I wish I could do this. You need a. You can't do this by hand.
Okay.
I don't have any machines, so you need a something to turn this on to make round things.
Okay.
But so what I'm doing is I'm just rolling this out. And usually people will tell you, oh, you have to let the dough wait for X number of for an hour or something, and clearly I didn't. Right? I mean, this rolls out very easily. Um, and we're going to have it. You can see the water's boiling, so I'm going to have
Okay.
this in a pot in just a minute. Basically, what's nice about fresh dough, you can use semolina for this, which is the yellowish, slightly more coarse dough. But in fact, in fresh pasta in Italy, people use regular wheat, like ordinary bread wheat.
Okay. So as you're doing that, I know you're going to get it ready to cut that. You have a background in European history. You just finished teaching that history class a few minutes ago. What is your favorite course that you teach at Pacific and why?
Oh God, I love my food history class. Basically because it aligns directly with my research. So if I learn something new, I put it directly into class. It's kind of seamless in a way. It's not like I'm teaching one thing and doing research on another.
So you combine it.
Yeah, exactly. But I like my other classes. I also teach a history of medicine class, which is my subfield, and I teach a class on the history of alcohol, which I'm going to do right after we're done with this.
Oh, really? Is that a popular one with students?
Yeah, well, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you are really rolling this out to the very ends of this to make it
Yeah.
really, I would assume, the texture thin, right? A thin noodle type of
Yeah,
thing you're going for?
it doesn't matter really. You
Doesn't
can do
matter.
it thickly, but I kind of like a thinner noodle.
Okay.
I think we're almost
And
there.
I would like to say I'd be healthy and roll this, but I have a broken collarbone. And so can't do that pressure yet, even though that would be a good stretch of my shoulder doing that, what you just did.
So all I'm doing is I'm making sure it's nicely floured so that this doesn't stick when I cut it.
Okay, because you've used a lot, you've done that a few times now, right? To make sure it doesn't stick when you cut it with it.
Yeah, and I've turned it over a few times, and
Yeah.
I maybe just roll it out once more for evenness.
What got you interested in food in this history? I know that's one of your favorite courses reference, but what sparked your interest?
I needed a dissertation,
Yeah.
and so I was given the very good advice: choose something you really like doing and
Yeah.
really love. And I've always liked cooking, and I thought, this will be a great thing to write about. I wrote about nutritional theory in the Renaissance just by chance. I went to school at Columbia, and it was right across from the New York Academy of Medicine, so that was just there. All my resources were there, and the rest is history, I guess. I got into the field and stayed there. So what
Okay,
I'm doing now is
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
rolling this up,
Okay.
and then I'm going to cut it into noodles and throw it right into the pot. And it will take maybe a minute to cook.
Oh wow. So it's like it's almost a crepe almost, very thin.
Yeah.
Are you getting that expert knife technique, Julie? Come look at that. So Ken, did you develop your love of cooking from your family or your family?
Yeah, my family eats. My mother was a terrible cook, so I think that kind of inspired me to learn for myself when I was in college, actually. And so I've been cooking pretty much every day since then.
What is your favorite dish to cook?
Noodles. Got it.
Noodles.
Yep.
Gotta be.
Yep. I did a book on noodle soup, so this is kind of. I still actually had noodle soup for breakfast this morning, so it's something I do often.
So okay, so you cut it and you just
Yeah.
kind of just lift it. Looks kind of like grated cheese a little bit.
Well, I'm just making sure that these little circles come apart. See how they're
Yeah.
rolled up?
Okay, got it. And that was your a little more flour so it doesn't stick.
Yep, exactly.
So favorite dish to make is pasta. What? Tell me a little bit about how you combine food and becoming a teacher. What made you want to teach?
Oh gosh, I think I always wanted to. I went to school intending to study the Renaissance, which I do still, and food just happened to be a topic that wasn't really taken yet. If you do military history or political history or religious history, there's enough books written about it. But food was kind of an empty field when I started. So I'm putting all this in.
Yeah, all it is. Now that's boiling water. And sometimes when you watch like the Food Network or Cookie Channel, they reference salt in the water with pasta. Is that
I did.
Oh,
Yeah,
you did?
I did.
Okay. And why is that?
Um, People say maybe it raises the boiling point. It doesn't. That's a myth.
Okay.
Because you want pasta that tastes good. It's full.
So the salt is what it's just for
Yeah,
flavor then.
yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on.
Oh, I'm gonna do something kind of.
You
Yeah.
need to drop stir.
Oh look, I can do this with my one good arm. It's very exciting.
And I'm going to test these. Just they might already be done.
Oh, that's quick, huh?
Yeah. People say this man is crazy.
So that's probably just about a minute.
They're done.
They're done.
Yep. All right, let me get this out.
Okay. Or am I not?
Nope, you're good.
You're good.
I'm going to take this.
You put it in there.
Yep.
Okay, so far we have 4 ingredients here then really, right? We've had the noodles are flour, water, salt, and now we're adding them to a pan of butter that is starting to melt right nicely.
Yep.
And so you've been at Pacific for a number of years. Tell us how your interactions with students, how have students impacted your life?
Well, some of them are still my good friends, and immediately when you have a great student who's engaged and loves the stop topic, and that you want to stay in contact with them forever. So I've had, people who I've kept in contact with that I started teaching 30 years ago. So that are now great friends. Usually I contact with them on Facebook, because they move away or whatever. But I have one student who moved to Bermuda, and about a month ago, she shows up, knocks on my door, and says, "Hi, I'm here." Thought I'd say hi. Brought her daughter. It's lovely, So that's the great part about teaching. I need my
So you need another spoon?
No, I'm just not getting all that pasta out.
Well, should I be stirring that as you're doing it?
Yep.
Back. So, and that's kind of what makes Pacific a special place, right? The close interactions that we have. Ooh, look at this.
I agree.
With our students and our faculty and our staff. Wow, so look, it's already kind of a little al dente.
And I'm gonna add a little piece of
Oh, what type of cheese are we adding?
I'm using Parmigiano Reggiano, which is my only time.
Oh, you're getting this. Look at the noodles here. Look at that. This is really nice.
I'm going to keep the pasta water. Use that because it's got starch in it. It'll help thicken the whole thing.
Okay, so I see people do that. Is that what you're going to make the sauce with then? With that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I might add a little cream. Let's see how it looks.
Okay.
It doesn't need it often, but sometimes you think, oh, a little touch of this would be great.
So everybody loves food, right? And there's always a food trend going on in the nation. What have been some of your most fun food trends that you kind of researched and delved into?
Oh gosh. Well, I think the thing that surprised me more than anything was a very, very deep dive into Japanese food, which happened by accident, really. I was making katsuobushi, which is a dried skipjack tuna that's smoked and salted and molded, and you shave it. So shavings that go into making dashi stock, or what goes on in a lot of Japanese recipes. Just a little.
Yeah.
And I thought I would make this for kicks, see how it turned out, with a smoker and with a dehydrator.
Smells good.
And let's just a little bit.
And so, what brought that trend? Do you think?
And just people's interest in Japanese cooking. So I did this. Someone saw it on Facebook because it's where I posted it, and they said, "Can we come and take a look and film you making katsuobushi?" And I had to do the various stages. And I said, okay, it was a Japanese TV company.
Oh, really?
And they came here and filmed,
just like this?
Exactly like this. Exactly.
Oh, how neat.
And in the backyard and in the garage and various places. But it was done. I made a whole noodle soup for them, and they said thank you. And I thought that was the end of it. And about a week later, someone knocks on my door in my office and says, "You won." And I'm like, "What do you mean I won? What are you talking about?" It was a Japanese guy who said, "Yeah, this was a contest. So we're taking you to Japan, and we're going to teach you how to do it at the feet of a master. This just happened a few years ago. And
Oh my god,
so
did you even know that was like an interview or
no, I
anything
have
like
no
that?
idea. No, it is that they did that on purpose, obviously.
Yeah.
And the whole, I'm going to spend a couple of weeks there. You know, they said literally, we're leaving in a few weeks and pack your stuff and we'll go. And I had no idea where they were taking me or anything. And so there's a whole episode on Japanese TV, a whole hour featuring me learning how to make katsuobushi, which is totally cool and fun.
That is really neat.
And it's not my field. I don't speak a word of Japanese, anything like that, which made it
Did
totally.
you have a new appreciation for that food? I mean, it was
Yes,
like,
totally. I always thought.
you always loved it?
But now I can make it, and there's not many people who can do that, which is
I've never heard of it. I mean, my Japanese food extended to California roll. So it's
Yeah,
not
well,
too deep.
if you've had miso soup, then you
Yes.
had it. It's in that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that smokiness comes from it's in that.
Oh. Okay, so Japanese. Any other food trends? Because I know that you've done a book on beans and all. Really dive into specific type of food.
I don't know. I think the trend that everyone keeps saying is going to happen is Filipino food, and it's obviously a lot of people doing it
Well, especially
here
Stockton.
in Stockton. Yeah, but they're doing it at home. They're not really. There must be Filipino restaurants. The trend.
You just added some pepper.
It's actually grains of paradise. I ran out.
Oh, great. Nice.
So it's a medieval Malagata pepper. It comes from the west coast of Africa, but it's similar to pepper.
So what was the name again?
Malagata pepper, or grains of paradise.
Grains of Paradise.
I just ran out of pepper.
So everybody, see if you can find Grains of Paradise next time you go.
I'm just adding a little bit
cream.
of cream just to bring that sauce together
Okay.
a little more.
I'm still stirring. This is a good one,
Yep.
right?
And I am.
I'm not
going to-
over stirring this. This is
No
a
way.
combination.
I'm going to add some broccoli
Okay, so
because
just steamed broccoli. It looks like, or roasted.
it was fried in the pan
Oh,
with a
fried in
little
the pan.
olive oil and. That's like enough.
Okay, this is really
This
good.
is literally Thanksgiving leftovers.
Thanksgiving leftovers.
Now I'm going to put some of that aside because you don't eat meat.
I don't.
Let me just put some of that into a bowl.
And so, everybody, we will share this recipe as a follow-up to this. Oh, let's put some in there. Yes, so it's good.
Yeah.
So everybody could see, because right now, just a few ingredients so far that we've used right now.
Yeah, very simple.
So simple, right? After Thanksgiving, you've had your family over, you're tired. You don't want a hard meal to make, right?
And of course, you can use pasta from the store. Just
Yeah.
open a bag of box of spaghetti. I'm going to leave that there for you, and I'm going to soup this up literally by adding some turkey stock from the last time I made a turkey. It's really nicely gelatinous.
Okay.
But that's going to give it a little more turkey flavor.
Okay, so turkey stock here. I'm going to
And-
mix this in.
Last night I made turkey, so I had turkey legs. So I'm just going to add that. So this is that.
And it tends to when I was not a vegetarian. The dark meat was always what was left over the most at Thanksgiving, right?
I don't know why it's the better stuff.
I
Much
feel
better than
I
white
was
meat.
more of the white meat type person. So again, this is leftovers. Most
Yep.
people will have the dark meat is leftover. Okay, so you just put turkey stock in here, and you just added some turkey from last night, and cream, right? So we had the cream, some butter,
Yeah.
grains of paradise, some broccoli, a little bit more. You just referenced going to Japan to do some cooking, right? I learned some cooking. What other unusual places has your food history journey brought you?
Italy. I was put up in a castle in Umbertide, which was really wonderful.
How are you doing the castle?
It's a foundation. It's the I'm forgetting the name of the foundation now, but they invite artists. And
Is it the
people to come
James
and-
Bird Foundation?
No,
No,
it's for artists. It is the. I can't remember.
Okay.
It's in
But you're in a castle.
and stayed there for a week and hiked around and enjoyed myself. And I go to England very often, pretty much every year, to the Oxford Symposium.
Is that like
And-
the leading symposium for food history? Or,
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah.
Um,
Do you present there? or-
yeah, I'm on the board actually, so it's kind
Oh,
of
wow.
business stuff.
This guy's a big deal. He's on the board. Okay, so what does that entail? You being on the board?
We choose the invited speakers. We have a lecture series online. We do all sorts of stuff like that. I'm not. It's a lot of busy work. It's there's a couple of different associations like that. That's obviously in England. The Association for the Study of Food and Society is the big one in the U.S., which is more of an academic conference. And I edited their journal for 5 years, so that's the serious academic one.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
So is this almost getting
I
done? It
think
looks
that's
because all this was cooked, right?
yeah.
So I'm gonna scoop some in. I can.
Yeah.
I think I can. Look at this. I need to use this arm mark. I want to use it. Then we could try it.
I think we're going to. Are you a chopsticks or a fork person?
My wife is a chopstick person, and she tries to teach me. She's watching me, but I'm more of a fork person.
Okay, they're right in front of you.
Oh, right in front of
Right there.
Oh, right there. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so the turkey tetrazzini. Let's see how it goes. Let's see. This is the moment right here. Actually, I shouldn't put that.
That's what it looks like. It is really.
Oh, I mean, yeah. With some of the brown butter and the cream,
Mhm.
great flavor and fast. We did this in less than 20 minutes. Okay, we're gonna keep eating and talk at the same time.
Okay.
So this was delicious. So your family must love it when you cook.
Well,
That one for the retirement you cooking for?
well, they are afraid of a lot of what I cook.
Oh, like your gelatin.
Yeah, I do put on gelatin. No one ate that. And my wife is actually vegan, so
Oh, is she?
and my kids are, they're not picky. They'll eat most of what I make, but there's times where I want to make something strange, so I cook two different things. And it's
Yeah, but you're the primary cook.
no problem. Yeah,
That's
pretty
awesome.
much.
Awesome. What is something that you've learned about food that has surprised you? I mean, you talked about you're in Japan, you're in a castle in Italy, you're in London. I mean, that's very different food environments. What has stood out to you?
Well, mostly that taste changes over time dramatically.
Hmm.
Things that people would have eaten in the past, we find really strange and off-putting. For example, if I had made this exact same dish and not throw in the actually I could have thrown in the turkey too. If you were eating this in the 16th century, instead of salt and pepper would be sugar and cinnamon,
Okay.
which is really nice. Like a lovely combination. And it's
With a meal like this?
yeah, exactly the same. Same noodles. And there's recipes from the 16th century like that. And they would use cinnamon and sugar on pretty much everything. Check in on whatever.
What was the rationale for that? I mean, you're making it vary from a savory dish to a more sweet dish. Well,
Yeah,
cinnamon makes it
savory.
savory, yeah.
Yeah, and it's still savory. It's just that we tend to put sugar at the end of a meal, and we think it only goes with desserts. And how could you put it on something savory? But think of cuisines around the world. Sugar goes into, much cooking. Thai cooking, of course, it's insane.
Yeah.
Vietnamese, of course, sugar goes in sauces and stuff. And it's in a lot of fast food you eat also. It's just that we tend to think if something is predominantly sweet, it's going to be at the end of a meal. But Middle Ages, up until about 1650, sugar goes right smack into everything.
What was the rationalization for why it stopped?
Well, it is a luxury item and it's a status symbol. And if you can afford to put spices and sugar in your food, you're clearly flaunting your wealth. And when sugar becomes cheaper and is grown in the New World, slave labor, but and when the Portuguese get a direct trade route that goes all the way to Asia, suddenly the spice is everywhere. It's not a big deal. It's not a marker of status anymore. So cooking really radically changes at that point. The spices you see, no one uses grains of paradise anymore. It's totally obsolete.
But it's also a milder flavor than pepper, right? It's good.
Yeah, I like it. And this is France after 1650. The whole idea that you have separate courses, that the flavor of the food should be based on the food itself. Like a stock and make a gravy out of it.
Yeah.
Not have the contrasts that are spicy and salty and sour and sweet, which is very, very much medieval and Renaissance. And I've always thought what is kind of amazing is if you look at the meal of Thanksgiving, there's no other meal in which we put a sour fruit with meat, but that's a very typical combination in the 16th century. And the whole sort of carving, standing at the table, the head of the household cards, totally a Renaissance phenomenon. We don't carve anything else. I feel like maybe a roast with turkey, you have to carve in front of everyone, right? And even the ubiquitous pumpkin spice, that's fundamentally medieval flavor combination.
It's everywhere now.
Yeah, but it was everywhere in the Middle Ages. It's kind of ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, sugar.
So, do you see that common in your food history where something in the past it goes away and then it's reintroduced and it's like a fad now, like pumpkin spice, which pumpkin spice latte, pumpkin spice, I don't know, cheesecake. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
everywhere.
So this is true, especially of gelatin. Gelatin has a heyday in the Renaissance, goes really out of fashion, comes back in the Victorian era, goes totally out of fashion, and then in the 50s, it's the V thing, Jello. But think of the past 20 years. If you were served Jello in a restaurant, you would be mortified.
Or
Right?
you think you're on the thing.
Yeah, worse.
Yeah.
It's just hospital or someplace in Utah. I don't know. I mean, that's where Jello stays popular, but it's not considered a gourmet food anymore. The idea of an aspect like cold ingredients stuck in gelatin frightens most people. Because we like food to be natural and look like itself and taste like itself and
Yeah.
be homemade. So that's one food that really goes in and out of fashion dramatically.
Well, what I've seen now is plant-based. This whole plant-based phenomenon, which is
Mhm.
plant-based meat products, right? Which is not a meat product; it's just a plant product, really. Is really a growing food, food industry in this country. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a good idea to eat plants,
Yeah,
obviously. Um, Lesser impact on the environment, and they're good for you, and they taste great. And I love vegetables, but the amount of processing that has to go into making Impossible Burgers, for example, I think they taste great. In fact, I've done taste test hamburger, Impossible Burger side by side. They're good. I mean, Impossible Burger
we
tastes
love an
fine.
Impossible Burger. Yep.
Yeah. But it's got legume proteins in it, the leg hemoglobin that causes it to go red and makes it look like it's bleeding,
Hmm.
which happens in a hamburger, takes a lot of processing to get to that point. So if you're not really into processed food, then that doesn't make much sense because you can just eat the beans. You can make a bean burger easily and it's lovely. But I think this is for people who really like the taste of meat but don't want to eat, you know, harm a cow or for whatever
Right.
ethical or religious or health reasons decide not to.
Still a good alternative, right? But it
Yeah.
is.
Well, you know what's going to happen soon is we're going to lab grown meat is going to happen.
Oh, okay.
Meaning they take a cell, they replicate it, and you have to start with one cell, and you literally then have a whole piece of meat, or you have a chicken nugget. Is what they're doing now. And
Oh,
I think what's fascinating about that is it's everyone expected it to be driven by science, and you think, okay, someone needs an organ replacement, just grow a new one, right? If you can grow a whole organ, that's medically would be immense, immense importance, in human health. But the direction it's going is making hamburgers and chicken nuggets, which is just surprising to me. And the scale is ramping up now, so it's actually coming almost affordable. I would say give it 5 years and it'll be in markets and sold.
how good is that going to be for you, though?
It's actually meat.
It's actually
It is
meat.
not vegetarian, and it's not. And even the PETA who sets the ethical standards says this is a very good alternative because no animals die to make it or suffer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That will change the ag industry for sure.
It will totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Tell us something about a little bit, our audience, what has been, how you engage with food and cooking. Because, some people don't necessarily engage with food or cook fresh products. What would be some of your advice to folks that are like, I don't cook,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
spouse cooks, or some of us we get takeout. You seem to engage well with food, right? It's kind of an
Yeah.
exciting to do. I mean,
Well,
it's relaxing.
it is fun. That's
Yeah.
first and foremost. I do it because I love being in the kitchen. But I would say people worry about what's going to happen and they follow recipes so strictly. They think, oh, I don't have this red pepper. I can't make that recipe. It's not going to turn out right. Or if I add more oregano, it's going to be completely wrong. And I think people should take recipes as a learning opportunity, as a suggestion, and then walk away from them. Never look at them again. Because once you've made it without the recipe, you don't need the book anymore. You don't, unless you're like baking a cake or something that really needs to be followed. But like this, would it have mattered if I'd used a cup more flour? Not really. I'd have more. I'd have leftovers. Would it matter, how much broccoli I threw in or how much stock or butter? Absolutely not. It's going to be pretty close, regardless. And I think the vast majority of recipes, people should just loosen up, get in the kitchen, have fun, do whatever kind of floats their boat, and once in a while it will fail, but then you learn. You learn
Yeah.
not to do that again. I think like this, for example, if I just left it in there with the butter, it would have started browning and probably would burn.
Yes.
Left it on high heat, so you had some liquid, and the starch loosens it up, and That's just a trick you learn, but a recipe can't tell you that. A recipe is sort of like, here's an action, you translate it into words, and then the person reading it has to retranslate it back into action. A much better way to learn how to cook is to watch. I bet you could do this.
I think I
Thing
could.
easily. Yeah.
Right, because there's flour, water, salt.
Yeah.
Well,
Nothing
yeah.
to it really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's great advice for people because I do think that recipe, that structured nature, you get nervous, right? And
Yeah.
it can be intimidating.
Right. It totally is. And I understand why cookbook authors do it. It's because they want to copyright their material and they want to make a living off of it. And I somehow got away with two cookbooks with a co-author
Hmm.
that don't have measurements, cooking times, or set ingredients, and publishers really will not let you do
Did
that.
they push the publishers push back?
This one let us do it, so it's a quirk and weird, and it's not written in. The ingredients aren't listed to start with. It basically tells you here's the technique. You want to make pasta, go ahead. If you want to add broccoli to it, go ahead. If you want to add whatever you like.
What was the name of the book?
It's The Lost Art of Real Cooking, which is not a title I would have chosen. I wanted to call it Back to Scratch. Which is
More acceptable, right?
Yeah,
Back, you're making something from scratch, so to speak.
right. But that one and then another one, a co-author and I wrote about, which was 2007. So it was a long, long time ago, but fun, trade press, so this
Yeah.
showed up in bookstores and kind of stuff. And people were, I think it's a temperament. Some people have to follow rules, have to obey a recipe. There's no way they could cook without exact, rules. And some people like to just throw whatever in and have fun with it. So
Yeah, because this was
that might be
delicious.
inspired.
This was delicious. This was delicious. We have some questions for our alumni.
Okay,
That-
great.
Oh no, sorry. I went ahead. We're gonna do our tag or tail spin, right? So if you watch Pacific Conversations, we do some lightning quick questions for you, and you give a lightning fast response. So, like first thing that comes to your mind, right? So, what is your favorite food?
Pasta or pizza comes very quick.
I love pizza too. Okay, so pasta. Who's your favorite musician?
Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
You're cooking, rocking out to Led
I
Zeppelin.
love
in
it
here.
too.
I love it. What is your favorite movie?
The Man Who Would Be King.
The Man Who Became.
Yeah, it's
Why?
based on Rudyard Kipling. It's Sean Connery and Michael Caine, and it's about Alexander the Great. They think Alexander the Great showing up in India.
Oh, very
It's a
cool.
great movie. It's the 70s.
In the 70s?
Yeah.
What is your favorite place on our beautiful campus?
That's hard, but I really like my office, but
In WPC?
it's smaller than this, but it is packed floor to ceiling with books. You can almost not even get in. There's so many books. It could be 2 or 3 times the size. But my favorite spot is actually on the bridge, right in the center as you're looking over the right side where the water is flowing.
On the Calaveras
And
River?
there's turtles that live there. There's,
Yeah.
sea otters there. And I go to that spot pretty much every day.
It is a relaxing spot.
Yeah.
That's a nice spot.
And, 2 minutes from my office.
That's very, very cool. Now I need to see your office here in the bookshelf.
Stop by anytime.
Okay, our alumni. Let's get into our alumni. Because we know Led Zeppelin, Pasta, Bridge, The Man Who Would Be King. So yeah, those are your favorite ones. What do you prepare for Thanksgiving? Oh, sorry. This is from Jaron Good, class of 1971 from Callison College. Asks, what do you prepare for Thanksgiving? How is this similar or different to past traditions in your family?
I do not mess with Thanksgiving. I always have a lot of people. So the last year, we rented tables, that big living room over there. We had 40 something people.
Wow.
Lou Matz was there. Greg and Gazina, who's in the history department, were there. So a lot of colleagues, I've known for years and years, and their kids who I've seen grown up. And I don't mess with that meal. It's turkey stuffing, cranberry sauce, green bean casserole, sweet potatoes, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie, and I'm going to do it this year. I don't think it's big, maybe about 20 people, but I can do it in my sleep. Just wake up and start cooking, and it's lovely. I love doing it.
So you stayed very traditional. You don't mess with it.
The one time I did is I bought a lot of very strange utensils, and I made a lot of them, like little pots and things, and I deconstructed every single ingredient and served about 20 or 30 courses. So you'd have one little cranberry thing, and then one little turkey thing, and and so the meal took like 4 hours, which was nice because normally everyone gorges themselves on turkey
You're thieving.
and then falls asleep.
Yeah.
It's over, And so this actually made everyone stretch it out. and the conversation lasted longer. And I tried to put some perverse spin on everything, but I only did that once because it was like 6 times the amount of work.
I can imagine because you deconstruct
Yeah.
everything. Huh, how fun. Great answer.
Yeah.
Teresa Sewell, class of 1977, Cabell College. So our Cluster College alumni asking some good questions. What is the most challenging dish for you to prepare and why?
Cake.
Cake?
Partly because I can't follow directions.
Well, we've learned that.
And partly because I don't actually like cake when it comes out. Very few that I'll actively eat. And
Because of the texture, or
I don't know. They're usually too sweet, and frosting is usually grotesque. And
you know, a lot of the frosting butter.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. But I don't know. There's something about cake that just doesn't. Because most cakes are bad, and if I want a good cake, I have to follow the recipe and I have to do it exactly. And there's no kind of creativity in it for me, so it's not fun to do.
Hmm. Interesting. Do you bake a lot or do you cook more?
I bake bread all the time, and I usually have got a sourdough. It's bubbling away in this bowl actually over there. I'm probably going to start another one just over the Christmas break. It takes 2 weeks. You're going to start sourdough. It's very easy.
Oh,
to do.
yeah.
Yeah, really easy. Just flour and water, and it'll start bubbling, and it'll
And
turn.
you leave it in that for 2 weeks?
Yeah, put a cloth over it, and that's it. And then you feed it every day, and and
Are
if
you,
you
are you
bake
feeding it water or
water and flour,
water and flour?
and then I use about a third every week to bake bread, and if I can get it basically, so I don't ever have to throw any away. Most recipes have to make a ton of starter and throw it away and add more flour and water, and you really don't need to. It happens entirely on its own. The yeast is already on the flour. It's already the bacteria is already
Try
there.
that.
I'll give you directions. It's in one of my cookbooks. It's very
Awesome.
easy.
Greg Stone, class of 2018, so younger alum, College of Pacific. Do you remember Greg?
Yes, of course I do. Yeah, of
Oh,
course. Yeah.
How are your winemaking endeavors progressing? So you're also a winemaker now?
Yeah, I'll let you taste something that my class named. So the class that's right after this is my alcohol.
History of alcohol.
Yeah. And I brought in, if you look right over there, there's grapes. That's my grapevines. My vineyard
yeah,
is right there.
yeah.
And I brought in a big bowl and I said, who wants to volunteer? One young woman came down, crushed it by hand. That was it. And then we let it ferment, pushed down the grapes every day. And after about 2 weeks, it was bubbly, fermenting, lovely. Strain that off. And this year it came out really nice. It didn't smell like socks, which sometimes it does. But it came out nice. And the most amazing thing about this vine, I mean, I had nothing, not even commercial yeast or sulfites or anything. But it's my colleague Limbaugh, who just passed away this past year. Those are cuttings from his vines. His house was bought by Dan Kasser and Cinda Kasser, who taught in the art department.
Yes.
They had that house, and this is the last of his whole vineyard. This is the vines that I had.
Wow. And so literally you just crush it down and let it ferment, and that's it.
And wine makes itself. Yeah.
How long do you have to let that ferment for?
It's about 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks?
And if it's still fizzy, then you can't bottle it; it'll blow off. But I let it rest for about a month after that. So we made this while talking about ancient winemaking techniques in class, and I let whoever wanted to taste a drop, basically last week. So I still have some left.
And so do they like it?
Yeah, totally. It really.
Well,
did
they're
come out
college
great.
students.
Yeah,
And wine.
right.
So that's kind of interesting. We haven't talked about this, but it seems like your classes, you always have that experiential learning component, right? So you're learning about something and then they're making. Is that something you try to integrate in all your classes?
If I can. If it's a really big class, 50, then it just becomes impossible. But last semester, I had one class came over. I think it was mostly history majors. Anyway, we cooked together, and we made a whole menu from the 1570s from Bartolomeo Scapi, and just all sat down and ate it. It was lovely. Just I don't know, 10 people. And I have a good crop this year. Good crop of history majors.
What a good experience for those students, though, to really have the opportunity. I'm reading about the history of this, and I'm making it myself. I get to experience it.
Right.
I think that would be a significant thing for a student to experience.
Absolutely.
You may want to go back again and get another degree.
Well,
Almost.
Of course.
Almost.
Well,
Almost.
I would do it. I obviously never went to school. So
True. I feel like
Still
I haven't either. Ken, this has been a delight.
Yeah.
It has been a delight. So everybody, let's look at this one more time. Look at our turkey tetrazzini right here. few simple ingredients that you can make at home after Thanksgiving. And again, we'll have the recipe we'll send out afterwards. But Ken, I want to thank you so much for literally speeding from class
And I have to go right
to
back.
come and to go right back to class. We appreciate it. Our alumni appreciate it. And I hope you join us next time for our Pacific Conversations on December 14th, where we'll have Professor James Hafner from our Conservatory of Music that will inspire some great holiday fare right in time for the holidays. I'm Scott Biedermann. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day and go Tigers. Thank you.